The warning lights flashed red across the control panel of the horizon. Jake Morrison wiped the sweat from his forehead and stared at the readings that made no sense. The ship's sensors had picked up something massive just outside the Kepler 442 system, but the signatures didn't match anything in the database. Captain Hayes, "You need to see this," Jake called out through the communication system. His hands moved quickly over the console, trying to get a clearer picture of what they were dealing with. Captain Linda Hayes arrived at the engineering bay within minutes. She was a veteran of deep space exploration, having spent 15 years commanding survey missions. Nothing in her experience prepared her for what she saw on Jake's screens. "Those ships are huge," she said quietly. "Are they hostile?" Jake shook his head. "I don't know. They're not doing anything yet. Just sitting there. But they've positioned themselves between us and our jump point home." The alien vessels looked unlike anything humanity had ever built. They were smooth and curved, glowing with soft blue and purple lights that pulsed like a heartbeat. There were 12 of them, each one 3 times the size of the horizon. They seemed to be made of something organic rather than metal. "Try hailing them," Captain Hayes ordered. Standard first contact protocols. Pete Anderson, the communications officer, sent out greetings in every language humans knew, along with mathematical sequences and visual symbols. For 10 long minutes, there was no response. Then the screens went white. When the image cleared, a figure stood before them. She was tall, nearly 7 feet, with skin that looked like it was made of crystal. Colors moved beneath her surface, shifting from blue to green to silver. Her eyes were large and completely black without any visible iris or pupil. She wore flowing robes that seemed to be alive, moving even though there was no wind. "We are the Zenthari," the figure said. Her mouth didn't move, but her voice filled their minds directly. "I am Queen Valara, ruler of 17 systems and commander of this fleet. Your vessel has entered our territory." Captain Hayes stepped forward, trying to maintain her composure. "I am Captain Linda Hayes of the human exploration ship Horizon. We meant no disrespect. We didn't know this space was claimed. We're simply on a peaceful survey mission." The alien queen tilted her head, studying them. "Humans, we have heard rumors of your kind. A young species, barely capable of faster-than-light travel. Curious and aggressive in equal measure." "We're not aggressive," Captain Hayes said firmly. "We come in peace." Queen Valara's skin flashed red for a brief moment. "Your weapons are charged and ready to fire. Do not insult my intelligence with lies, human captain." Jake moved closer to his captain. "We only charged weapons as a defensive precaution when unknown vessels surrounded us. It's standard procedure." The Queen's attention shifted to Jake, her black eyes fixed on him with an intensity that made his skin crawl. For a long moment she said nothing. The colors beneath her crystalline skin began to swirl faster. "Who are you?" she asked, speaking directly into Jake's mind. "Jake Morrison, Chief Engineer." "You are different from the others," Valara said. "Your mind is clouded to me. I cannot read your thoughts clearly. This is unusual." Before Jake could respond, the entire crew of the Horizon felt a strange pulling sensation. The ship's interior blurred and twisted. Jake's stomach lurched. Then suddenly they were no longer on their ship. They stood in a massive chamber with walls that seemed to be made of living light. The floor was solid beneath their feet, but it was transparent, showing stars moving below them. The Zenthari Queen stood before them, now accompanied by dozens of other aliens of her kind. "What did you do?" Captain Hayes demanded. "Where's my ship?" "Your vessel is undamaged and in our holding bay," Valara replied calmly. "I have brought you here to examine you properly. The Zenthari do not make first contact lightly. We must determine if your species is worthy of continued existence." The crew of the Horizon numbered 20 people. They huddled together, looking around nervously at the aliens who surrounded them. The Zenthari moved with fluid grace, their crystalline bodies reflecting light in strange patterns. Some were examining the humans with instruments that floated in the air. Others simply watched with their unsettling black eyes. Queen Valara walked slowly along the line of human crew members. She paused briefly at each one as if reading something invisible to human eyes. Most of the Zenthari's skin remained a calm blue color. When she reached Pete Anderson, her color shifted slightly to green, showing mild interest. When she passed Captain Hayes, orange flickered across her surface. Then she reached Jake Morrison. The Queen stopped. Her skin exploded into brilliant crimson, so bright that several of the human crew members had to look away. The others Zenthari in the chamber stepped back, their own colors shifting to surprised yellows and whites. "Impossible," Valara whispered, but her voice echoed in every human mind. "I have never encountered a mind like this." Jake stood his ground, though his heart was pounding. "I don't know what you're sensing, but I'm just an engineer. Nothing special." "You are wrong," the Queen said. She moved closer, until she was standing directly in front of him. Her hand reached out and touched his forehead. The contact felt cold and electric. "Your mind is a maze. It twists and turns in ways I cannot follow. You think in patterns that are foreign to me. You are chaos and order combined." She pulled her hand back and turned to face her assembled court. When she spoke next, her voice carried an authority that made the very air vibrate. "I have made my decision," Queen Valara declared. "The human species will be allowed to exist. They are too primitive to pose a threat, but interesting enough to preserve. However, this one will remain with me. That human will be mine." Her finger pointed directly at Jake Morrison. "Wait, what?" Jake said. "You can't just claim people." "I am Queen Valara of the Zinthari Empire," she replied. Her skin was still glowing that intense crimson. "I have conquered civilizations that spanned hundreds of worlds. I have claimed prizes from 1,000 different species. I take what I desire, and I desire you." Captain Hayes stepped forward. "Absolutely not. Jake is a member of my crew and a citizen of Earth. You have no right to take him." The Queen turned her gaze to the captain. For a moment, her skin flashed a dangerous deep purple. "You dare to speak of rights? Your species has existed in space for less than a century. The Zinthari Empire has endured for 10,000 years. We define what is right in this sector of the galaxy. Then your empire is built on tyranny," Jake said loudly. "Taking people against their will isn't strength. It's just bullying with better technology." A shocked silence filled the chamber. None of the other Zenthari had ever heard anyone speak to their queen this way. Several of them moved forward, their skin turning angry reds and blacks. But Valara raised her hand, stopping them. Her colors shifted rapidly, moving through several shades before settling on a deep magenta that none of her subjects had seen before. "Fascinating," she said softly. "You have no fear of me. Or perhaps you do, but you choose to speak anyway. Tell me, Jake Morrison, do all humans possess such courage?" "Most of us don't like being threatened or kidnapped," Jake replied. "That's not courage. That's just basic self-respect," the Queen laughed. The sound was strange, like crystal chimes ringing. "You will teach me much about humanity, I think. Guards, escort the others back to their vessel. Give them supplies and safe passage to their jump point. They may return to their home system." "I'm not leaving without Jake," Captain Hayes said. "You have no choice in this matter," Valara replied. The friendliness was gone from her voice. "Be grateful that I am allowing you to leave at all. Most species that enter our space do not receive such mercy." Jake felt hands grabbing his arms. Two Zenthari guards held him firmly. He struggled, but their strength was far beyond human. "Captain, don't do anything stupid. Get the crew home safely." "Jake, we're not abandoning you," Captain Hayes said. "That's an order, Captain," Jake said, trying to sound more confident than he felt. "Get back to Earth. Tell them what happened here. Let them know humans aren't alone in the universe anymore." The rest of the crew began to fade, transported back to the horizon the same way they had been brought here. Captain Hayes was the last to go, her eyes locked on Jake until the very end. Then Jake was alone, surrounded by aliens, facing a queen who had declared him her possession. Queen Valara moved closer to him again. Her skin had returned to that brilliant crimson. "Do not be afraid, Jake Morrison. You will be treated with great honor. To be chosen as a consort to the Zenthari Queen is a privilege that many would kill for." "I didn't ask for this privilege," Jake said. "I just want to go home." "That is no longer possible," Valara said. She reached out and touched his face gently. "But in time you will understand. I always get what I desire, and I have decided that I desire you." The quarters they gave Jake were larger than his entire apartment back on Earth. The walls changed colors based on his mood, or at least that's what the Zenthari servant told him. Right now they were a dark gray, which seemed appropriate given the circumstances. Jake sat on something that looked like a floating cushion. It adjusted to his body perfectly, more comfortable than any furniture he'd ever known. But comfort didn't change the fact that he was a prisoner. 3 days had passed since the Horizon left. 3 days of living in luxury while being completely alone. The Zenthari who brought him food didn't speak. They simply placed trays of strange delicacies on a table and left. Jake had tested the door numerous times. It wouldn't open for him. On the fourth day, Queen Valara visited him. She appeared in his room without warning. One moment, Jake was examining the wall panel, trying to understand the technology. The next moment, she was standing behind him. Her skin was a calm blue color. "You are trying to escape," she observed. It wasn't a question. Jake turned to face her. "I'm trying to understand how your technology works." "That's what engineers do." "The others of your species accepted their fate quickly," Valara said. She moved around the room, examining it as if seeing it for the first time. "We have taken members of 47 different species over the centuries. Most are grateful for the honor. Some resist at first but accept within days. You are different. Maybe the others were just smart enough to know when they were beaten," Jake replied. The Queen's skin flickered to orange. "Is that what you think? That you are beaten? I think I'm realistic. You've got technology centuries beyond ours. You can read minds. You transported me here without even touching me. What chance do I have?" Valara smiled. It was a strange expression on her crystalline face. "And yet you continue to resist. You continue to search for weaknesses. Your mind may be clouded to me, but I can sense your determination. Why do you fight when you know it is hopeless?" Jake sat down on the floating cushion. "Because giving up isn't in my nature. Humans don't do well in cages, even golden ones. We're stubborn that way." "Tell me about your species," the Queen said. She settled onto another cushion across from him. "I want to understand what makes humans so different." "Why do you care?" Jake asked. "I'm just your prize, right? Something you claimed because you could." The Queen's colors shifted to purple. "You are more than that. I told you before. Your mind is unlike anything I have encountered. The Zenthari are telepathic. We have dominated this region of space for 10,000 years because we can predict our enemies. We know their thoughts before they act. But humans are different. Your minds are chaos to us, unpredictable." "So you're scared of us," Jake said. Red flashed across Valara's skin. "I fear nothing. But I am curious. Your species has only just developed faster than light travel. You have no empire. Your worlds are few, and yet when I look at you, I see potential that other species lack." Jake leaned back. "You want to know what makes humans special? Fine, we're creative. We don't just accept the way things are. We question everything. We take things apart to see how they work. We fail and we try again. We're messy and chaotic because we're always experimenting, always pushing boundaries." "The Zenthari value order," Valara said. "Everything in its place. Everyone knowing their role. It has made us powerful. It's also made you predictable," Jake said. "I bet your technology hasn't fundamentally changed in centuries. You've refined what you have, but you haven't invented anything truly new." The Queen's skin went completely white. In Zenthari color language, Jake would later learn, this meant she was shocked. "How did you know that?" "Because that's what happens to every civilization that values order above everything else," Jake explained. "Innovation requires chaos. It requires people to question authority and try things that might fail. If everyone just follows the rules and accepts their place, nothing ever changes." Valara stood up and walked to the transparent wall that showed the stars outside. "You speak of things I have wondered about in private. The Zenthari Empire is vast and powerful, but we have not created anything truly revolutionary in 3,000 years. We conquered other species and took their innovations, but we ourselves have become stagnant." "Then maybe kidnapping me isn't the answer to your problems," Jake said. "Maybe what you need is to change your whole system." The Queen turned back to face him. Her colors were swirling now, moving through shades Jake hadn't seen before. "I brought you here because I was drawn to you. Your mind fascinates me, but perhaps there is more to learn from you than I first realized." "Then let me make a deal with you," Jake said, standing up. "Give me access to information about your technology. Let me talk to your scientists. I'll help you understand human innovation, but in return you need to let me see my crew. Let me know they made it home safely." "Your crew arrived at your home system 5 days ago," Valara said. "My ships monitored their journey to ensure they were not attacked." 5 days ago," Jake said. "But it's only been 4 days since they left." "Time moves differently in quantum space," the Queen explained. "The method we use to travel is not the same as your primitive jump drives. We fold space itself." Jake's engineering mind immediately wanted to know how that worked, but he forced himself to focus. "So they're safe. That's good, but I still want to be able to contact them." "That I cannot allow," Valara said. If you communicate with your people, they may attempt a rescue. I do not wish to have to destroy human ships. Then let me prove humans aren't a threat to you, Jake suggested. Let me work with your people. Show you what we can offer. If I try to escape or contact my crew, then you can lock me back up. But give me a chance to be useful instead of just being a trophy. The Queen considered this for a long moment. Her skin slowly shifted through various colors as she thought. Finally, she settled on a soft green. Very well, she said. You will be given limited freedom. You may access our research facilities. You may speak with our scientists. But you will be monitored at all times. If you attempt anything that threatens my empire, the punishment will be severe. Not just for you, but for your species. I understand, Jake said. I'm not looking to start a war. I just want to be treated like a person instead of a possession. Valara moved closer to him. Her hand reached out and touched his shoulder. The contact was cold but not unpleasant. You are still mine, Jake Morrison. Do not forget that. But perhaps I can afford to be generous with what belongs to me. Over the following weeks, Jake's life changed dramatically. He was given access to Zenthari research facilities that spanned entire decks of the massive flagship. The technology was incredible. They had mastered quantum manipulation, genetic engineering, and energy systems that seemed to violate physics as humans understood it. The Zenthari scientists were initially suspicious of him. A primitive human being allowed into their sacred research areas was unprecedented. But Jake won them over through his genuine curiosity and his ability to ask questions they had never considered. He met a scientist named Korath, who specialized in quantum field theory. Jake spent hours discussing the differences between human and Zenthari approaches to faster-than-light travel. The Zenthari method was more elegant but also more rigid. Human jump drives were crude but adaptable. Your species makes mistakes constantly, Korath observed one day. His skin was a neutral gray. Every human ship we have analyzed shows signs of improvised repairs and modified systems. It is chaos. It's flexibility, Jake corrected. When something breaks far from home, we can't just replace it with a perfect copy. We have to improvise. That forces us to really understand how things work, not just how to use them. Through these interactions, Jake began to understand Zenthari culture better. They were not evil, just fundamentally different from humans. They valued hierarchy and order because their telepathic abilities required it. When everyone could sense everyone else's thoughts, society needed strict rules to maintain privacy and peace. But this also meant they had lost something. The ability to think independently, to question authority, to imagine things that didn't fit into the established order. Queen Valara visited him often during this time. She would appear in the research lab or in his quarters, always without warning. They would talk for hours about their respective species, about philosophy and science and art. Jake found himself looking forward to these visits, though he would never admit it. The Queen was brilliant and curious, qualities he respected, but she was also his captor, something he couldn't forget. One evening, Valara brought him to an observation deck he hadn't seen before. It showed a view of a planet below, green and blue like Earth, but with purple clouds swirling through the atmosphere. This is Zenthar Prime, she told him. The home world of my people. I rule from this flagship, but my palace below is where the heart of the Empire resides. It's beautiful, Jake admitted. I want to take you there, Valara said. Her skin was that deep magenta color again, the one that meant something significant in Zenthari color language. I want my people to see the human who has captured my interest. You mean you want to show off your prize, Jake said. The Queen's colors flashed red for a moment before settling back to magenta. Must you always resist? Can you not simply accept that your life has changed? The alarm cut through the peaceful moment like a knife. Valara's skin immediately shifted to a deep black, a color Jake had learned meant serious danger. She released his hand and turned toward the door. What's happening? Jake asked. We are being challenged, Valara said. Her voice in his mind was sharp and controlled. Stay here. Do not leave this observation deck under any circumstances. She vanished before Jake could ask any more questions. He was alone in the large room with its view of the planet below. Through the transparent walls, he could see Zenthari ships moving into defensive positions around the flagship. Jake pressed his hand against the wall panel, trying to access the ship's communication system. To his surprise, it responded. Either Valara had given him more access than she intended, or the emergency had lowered some security protocols. He could hear transmissions in the Xanthari language. Over the past weeks, he'd learned enough to understand basic concepts. Someone was demanding an audience with Queen Valara, someone who claimed to have authority equal to hers. Within an hour, a Xanthari guard came to escort Jake. Unlike the usual servants, this guard's skin was a metallic silver, and he carried a weapon that hummed with energy. "The Queen demands your presence in the throne chamber," the guard said. His mental voice was cold and formal. Jake followed without argument. They walked through corridors that grew progressively more grand until they reached a massive chamber. The room was filled with Xanthari nobles, their crystalline bodies creating a rainbow of colors that shifted constantly. Queen Valara sat on a throne made of what looked like solidified light. Her skin was pure white, completely neutral. Next to her throne stood a male Xanthari, who was even taller than the queen. His skin was a deep crimson, and his presence felt aggressive even from across the room. "Ah, the human," the male Xanthari said. "So this is the creature that has distracted our queen from her duties." "Lord Kethrin," Valara said, her voice cold. "You overstep your bounds. I have neglected no duties, haven't you?" Kethrin's skin flashed darker red. "You spend your days with this primitive being, while the Empire faces challenges from the outer territories. The Council of Nobles has noticed your distraction." Jake was positioned in the center of the chamber, surrounded by aliens who were all staring at him. He felt exposed and vulnerable, but he kept his expression calm. "Show no fear. That was the first rule of dealing with predators. The human is mine by right of claim," Valara stated. "This is not open to debate." "On the contrary," Kethrin said, moving closer to the throne. "Under the ancient laws, any noble of equal rank may challenge a claim. I hereby challenge your right to this human." The assembled nobles began to murmur among themselves. Their skin color shifted rapidly, showing excitement and anticipation. This was apparently a big deal in Xanthari culture. Valara stood up from her throne. Her skin remained that neutral white, but Jake could sense the anger radiating from her. "You dare challenge me? You who rules only 3 systems to my 17? I rule 7 systems now," Kethrin said smoothly. "I have been busy while you played with your pet, and under the law, any ruling noble may challenge another's claim. You know this. You wrote these very laws yourself 500 years ago." Jake blinked. 500 years? These aliens lived far longer than humans. "What are the terms of your challenge?" Valara asked. Kethrin smiled. "A contest of worth. Each of us will task our claimed consort with solving a problem that has plagued our empire. Whichever consort proves more valuable wins. The loser must relinquish their claim." "I have not accepted this human as a consort," Valara said. "He is merely claimed." "Then it should be easy for you to give him up when you lose," Kethrin replied. Jake noticed something then. Behind Kethrin stood another human, a man in his 30s with dark hair and glasses. He wore Xanthari-style clothing and looked remarkably comfortable considering the circumstances. Valara's gaze shifted to Jake. He could feel her presence in his mind, asking a silent question. He gave a small nod. Whatever this contest was, he would do his best. "I accept your challenge," the Queen said finally. "The contest of worth will take place at the Grand Arena, as tradition demands. We will convene in 10 days. "Excellent," Kethrin said. He turned and walked out of the chamber, the other human following behind him. After the throne room cleared, Valara brought Jake to a private chamber. Her skin was cycling through angry reds and frustrated oranges. "I apologize," she said. "I did not anticipate this. Kethrin is ambitious and dangerous. I should have known he would find a way to make trouble." "Who's the other human?" Jake asked. "His name is Zane Phillips. He was taken from a human research vessel 8 months ago. Unlike you, he accepted his situation quickly. He has been working with Xanthari scientists and has made himself quite valuable to Kethrin. So this is basically a competition between 2 humans." Jake said. "Winner stays, loser goes home?" "Not exactly," Valara said quietly. "In Xanthari law, a claimed consort who loses a contest of worth is considered damaged goods. Kethrin will not keep you if I lose. He will discard you." "Discard how?" The Queen's silence told him everything he needed to know. "Right," Jake said. "So I need to win or I die. No pressure." "I will not let that happen," Valara said firmly. "You will have access to every resource in my empire. Every scientist, every database, every piece of technology. Whatever you need to win." Over the next 10 days, Jake learned about the problem they would be asked to solve. The void rifts. They were tiers in spacetime that appeared randomly throughout Xanthari territory. Ships that flew too close were destroyed instantly. Colonies had been evacuated because rifts appeared near planets. The Xanthari had been trying to solve this problem for 50 years. Thousands of scientists had worked on it. None had succeeded in predicting where rifts would appear or how to close them. Jake was given access to all the research. It was overwhelming. The data covered decades of observations, complex quantum field equations, and theoretical models that made his head hurt. On the third day of his research, he requested something unusual. He wanted to speak with Captain Hayes and the crew of the Horizon. "That is not possible," Valara said. "Communication with your people is still forbidden." "Then I want to speak with the crew of the Horizon who are still here," Jake said. Valara's colors shifted to confused yellow. "There are no other humans from your ship here. Are you sure?" Jake asked. "Because Xanthari telepathy doesn't work well on humans, right? Our minds are clouded to you. What if some of my crew managed to hide when you transported everyone back?" The Queen immediately ordered a search of her flagship. Within hours, they found them. Pete Anderson, Nicole Grant, and Carl Bennett had hidden in the cargo bay when the rest of the crew was transported away. They'd been surviving on stolen supplies and trying to find a way to rescue Jake. When they were brought to Jake's research lab, Pete grabbed him in a tight hug. "We thought we'd never see you again, man." "I can't believe you guys stayed," Jake said. "That was incredibly stupid and brave." "Couldn't leave you behind," Nicole said. She was the Horizon's best systems engineer, though our rescue plan wasn't going so well. "These ships are impossible to navigate." Carl, the medical officer, looked around the advanced lab with wide eyes. "What is all this?" Jake quickly explained the situation. The contest of worth, the void rifts, the fact that he had 10 days to solve a problem that Xanthari scientists couldn't crack in 50 years. "That's insane," Pete said. "They're setting you up to fail." "Maybe," Jake agreed. "But I have an advantage they don't expect. I have you three." Queen Valara was furious when she learned that crew members had been hiding on her ship for weeks, but Jake convinced her to let them stay and help him. After all, Keithran hadn't said he had to work alone. The 4 humans worked around the clock. They approached the problem completely differently than the Xanthari had. Instead of focusing on the quantum physics of the rifts, they looked at the patterns. Nicole was the one who noticed it first. "The rifts aren't random," she said on the 8th day. "Look at this overlay I made. Every single rift appears along major Xanthari navigation routes." Jake pulled up the map she'd created. She was right. The rifts followed the paths that Xanthari ships traveled most frequently. "It's like they're following the roads," Carl said. "Not following," Jake said slowly, as understanding dawned. "Creating. The Xanthari quantum drives fold space, right? What if they're not folding it perfectly? What if each jump leaves a tiny tear that accumulates over time?" Pete whistled. "You're saying their own technology is causing the rifts?" "It would explain why they started appearing 50 years ago," Nicole added. "That's when the Xanthari really expanded their empire. More ships, more jumps, more accumulated damage. They spent the next 2 days testing the theory. The math worked. Every rift could be traced back to the cumulative damage from thousands of quantum jumps through the same region of space. But proving the Xanthari technology was flawed wasn't enough. Jake needed to provide a solution. He worked with Nicole to design a new type of drive system. It combined human warp theory with Xanthari quantum manipulation. The result would be slower but wouldn't tear space apart. On the day of the contest, they were transported to the Grand Arena. It was a space station the size of a small moon, positioned in neutral territory between Xanthari. Jake took a deep breath and began his presentation. He projected a holographic map of Xanthari space with all the recorded void rifts marked in red. The thousands of nobles watching fell silent. "The solution presented by Zane Phillips is good," Jake said clearly. "It addresses the symptoms of the problem. But we found something that your scientists missed. We found the cause." He gestured and the hologram changed. Now it showed Xanthari navigation routes overlaid with the rift locations. The correlation was obvious once you saw it. "Every single void rift appears along your major travel routes," Jake explained. "This isn't a coincidence. Your quantum fold drives are creating these rifts. Each time a ship folds space, it leaves microscopic damage. Over 50 years and billions of jumps, that damage has accumulated into the rifts you see now. The arena erupted into noise. Nobles' skin colors flashed through angry reds and shocked whites. The judge had to call for silence multiple times. Lord Kethrin stood up from his seat. "This is absurd. Are you claiming that Zenthari technology, which has served our empire for thousands of years, is flawed?" "Yes," Jake said simply. "Your technology is elegant and powerful, but it has a flaw you never noticed because you never questioned it. You just kept using it because it worked, never considering the long-term consequences." Queen Valara's skin remained perfectly neutral white, but Jake could sense her tension. This was a dangerous accusation to make. "Prove it," the judge demanded. Nicole stepped forward. She projected complex mathematical equations that showed how quantum fold travel created stress fractures in space-time. Pete added navigation data proving that every rift matched historical travel patterns. Carl provided projections showing how the damage would continue to spread if nothing changed. The evidence was overwhelming. The nobles couldn't deny it, though many of them clearly wanted to. Their sacred technology, the foundation of their empire's power, had a fundamental flaw. "Even if your analysis is correct," Kethrin said, his skin a dark, angry crimson, "you have only identified the problem. Zane's solution still addresses the rifts that exist." "His solution is a bandage," Jake replied. "It treats the damage but doesn't stop it from getting worse. My solution goes deeper." He projected a new design, a hybrid drive system that combined human warp field technology with Zenthari quantum manipulation. It was slower than pure quantum folding, but it wouldn't tear holes in reality. "This drive system creates a stable bubble around the ship," Jake explained. "Instead of folding space, it compresses it in a controlled way. You'll lose about 30% of your current speed, but you'll stop destroying the fabric of the universe." 30% slower? A noble shouted. "That would cripple our empire. Trade routes would take longer. Military response times would increase. You're asking us to weaken ourselves." "I'm asking you to survive," Jake shot back. "Your current technology is unsustainable. In another 50 years, there will be so many rifts that travel through your core systems will be impossible. Your empire will collapse not from conquest but from suicide." The judge raised her hand for silence again. She consulted with other arbiters for several minutes. Their skin colors shifted rapidly as they debated telepathically. Finally, the judge returned to the center of the arena. "Both solutions have merit," she announced. "Zane Phillips has provided a practical solution to manage existing rifts using proven Zenthari technology. Jake Morrison has identified the root cause and proposed a solution that prevents future damage, though at the cost of reduced performance." "Then Zane wins," Kethrin said quickly. "His solution is more acceptable to the Empire." "Not so fast," the judge replied. Her golden skin pulsed with authority. "The contest of worth is judged not on popularity but on value. We must determine which solution provides greater long-term benefit to the Zenthari Empire." The arbiters withdrew to deliberate. Jake and his team stood in the arena, surrounded by thousands of aliens whose future he had just challenged. The tension was unbearable. Valara approached him. Her skin was still that neutral white, revealing nothing. "You took an enormous risk," she said quietly into his mind, "telling the Zenthari that their technology is flawed. Many will see this as an insult." "It's the truth," Jake replied. "Isn't that what you wanted from me? Human honesty and innovation?" "I wanted you to win," Valara said, "not to start a revolution." After an hour, the arbiters returned. The judge's announcement echoed through the vast arena. "We have reached a decision." While Zane Phillips provided a valuable solution using traditional methods, Jake Morrison has demonstrated superior understanding of the problem and provided the only solution that ensures the Empire's long-term survival. Jake Morrison is the winner of this contest of worth. The arena exploded into chaos. Some nobles cheered, their skin colors bright with approval. Others turned dark with anger. Catherine's skin went completely black, a color Jake had learned meant murderous rage. "This is an outrage," Kethrin shouted. "You're validating a human who insults our entire civilization, who claims our technology is inferior." "I didn't say it was inferior," Jake said loudly. "I said it was flawed. There's a difference. Every technology has flaws. The question is whether you're willing to acknowledge them and improve." Kethrin started to move toward Jake, but guards blocked his path. The Lord turned to Valara instead. "You planned this. You coached this human to undermine our empire." "I gave him access to information and let him work," Valara replied coolly. "What he discovered himself." That is the value of the human mind. It questions. It challenges. It finds solutions we never considered because we were too proud to admit problems existed. The judge intervened before the situation could escalate further. The contest is concluded. Queen Valara's claim to Jake Morrison is validated. This matter is settled according to ancient law. But Jake could see that nothing was settled. The nobles were dividing into factions. Some agreed with his assessment and wanted to implement changes. Others saw him as a threat to Zenthari supremacy. The empire was fracturing before his eyes. As the arena emptied, Jake and his team were escorted back to Valara's flagship. Once they were in private, Pete grabbed Jake's shoulder. "That was either the bravest or stupidest thing I've ever seen," Pete said. "You basically told an empire of telepathic aliens that they've been doing everything wrong." "I told them the truth," Jake said. "What they do with it is up to them." Valara entered the room. Her skin was cycling through colors rapidly. Something Jake had learned meant she was experiencing conflicting emotions. "You won the contest," she said. "My claim to you is now legally unquestionable. But you have created a crisis within my empire." "Good," Jake said. Valara's colors stopped cycling and went to shocked white. "Your empire needed a crisis. It needed someone to question the status quo. Otherwise, you would have collapsed in 50 years anyway." "You don't understand what you've done," Valara said. "Half my nobles now see you as a threat. They will demand your death to preserve Zenthari pride." "Let them try," Nicole said, stepping forward. "Jake just proved that humans are valuable. We see things you miss. We solve problems you can't. Killing him would be the stupidest thing your empire could do." Carl and Pete nodded in agreement. The 3 crew members stood protectively around Jake. Valara looked at them for a long moment. Then her skin shifted to that deep magenta color. "You are right. And that is why what I am about to do will be even more controversial than what happened in the arena." "What are you going to do?" Jake asked. "I am going to give you a choice," the Queen said. "Something no Zenthari ruler has ever done with a claimed consort. You can stay here under my protection and help my empire adapt to the changes your discoveries will bring. Or you can leave. Take your crew and return to human space. I will provide you with a ship and safe passage." Jake stared at her. "You're letting me go?" "I am giving you the choice to leave," Valara corrected. "There is a difference. If you choose to stay, it must be your own decision. Not because I claimed you. Not because I forced you. But because you want to be here?" "Why?" Jake asked. "Why would you do this?" Valara's skin softened to a gentle blue. "Because you taught me something important. You showed me that strength isn't about controlling others. It's about respecting them. For 10,000 years, the Zenthari have ruled through domination. We take what we want. We force compliance. But you resisted me in ways no other being ever has. And through that resistance, you changed me." She moved closer to Jake. "I told you that I always get what I desire. But I realize now that taking you as a possession would mean losing what makes you valuable. Your independence. Your ability to question. Your humanity." Jake looked at his 3 crew members. Pete nodded slightly. Nicole smiled. Carl gave him a thumbs up. "I need time to think," Jake said. "This isn't a decision I can make right now." "I understand," Valara said. "Take all the time you need. But know that whatever you decide, you will be making history. No claimed being has ever been given this choice before." That night, Jake couldn't sleep. He stood in his quarters, staring out at the stars. Earth was out there somewhere, weeks of travel away even at quantum speeds. His family, his friends, his life before all this happened. But here he had an opportunity that no human had ever had. A chance to shape the future of an entire alien empire. The next morning, Jake requested a meeting with Queen Valara in her private chambers. When he arrived, he found her standing before a massive window that showed Zenthar Prime rotating slowly below. "I've made my decision," Jake said. Valara turned to face him. Her skin was that neutral white again, revealing nothing. "I am listening. I'll stay," Jake said. "But not as your possession, not as your consort. I'll stay as a partner, an advisor, someone who works with you, not for you." The Queen's colors shifted rapidly, cycling through several shades before settling on a warm gold. A partner. "The Zenthari do not have partners. We have rulers and subjects." "Then maybe it's time that changed," Jake replied. "If your empire is going to survive the next 100 years, it needs to start valuing different perspectives. It needs to listen to voices that question authority. I can be one of those voices, but only if I'm treated as an equal. You ask for something unprecedented, Valara said. The nobles will never accept a human as my equal. Then they'll have to get used to disappointment, Jake said. Because I'm not backing down on this. Either I'm your partner or I leave. For a long moment, Valara said nothing. Her skin continued shifting colors as she processed the implications. Finally, she moved closer to him. You realize that if I grant this request, you will become a target, she said. Every noble who opposes change will see you as a threat. They will try to kill you. They can try, Jake said. But I have a feeling you won't let that happen. A smile crossed Valara's crystalline face. You are correct. Very well, Jake Morrison. You will be my partner. Not my possession. I will announce this to the Empire, and we will face whatever comes together. The announcement sent shockwaves through Zenthari space. Queen Valara declared that she was releasing her claim on Jake Morrison, and instead establishing a formal partnership with him. He would serve as her special advisor on human affairs and technological innovation. He would have the authority to speak at council meetings and propose changes to imperial policy. The reaction was explosive. Conservative nobles were outraged. They saw it as the queen degrading herself by treating a primitive alien as an equal. Some called for her removal. Others began forming alliances to oppose any changes she might propose. But there was another faction, mostly younger nobles who saw opportunity. They had watched Jake win the contest of worth. They had seen him identify a flaw that Zenthari scientists missed for 50 years. They believed that working with humans could give the Empire new advantages. Lord Kethrin was the loudest voice of opposition. He gave speeches in the Grand Council about maintaining Zenthari purity and superiority. He claimed that Valara had become weak, corrupted by her attachment to a human. We must remove this poison from our empire, Kethrin declared in one particularly heated session. The Queen has forgotten what it means to be Zenthari. She has forgotten our strength. Jake attended that council meeting. He stood beside Valara's throne, very aware that most of the nobles in the chamber would happily see him dead. When Kethrin finished speaking, Jake asked for permission to respond. Lord Kethrin talks about Zenthari's strength, Jake said, his voice carrying through the vast chamber. But what is strength? Is it the ability to conquer other species? To dominate through superior technology? The Zenthari have been doing that for 10,000 years. And in all that time, what have you actually accomplished? The chamber erupted in angry murmurs. Jake continued speaking over them. You've conquered hundreds of worlds, but you haven't created anything truly new in centuries. You've maintained your empire through force, but you're stagnating. Your technology has a fundamental flaw that you never noticed because no one was allowed to question it. That's not strength. That's arrogance. How dare you, Kethrin said, his skin going black with rage. I dare because someone has to, Jake replied. Real strength isn't about dominating others. It's about admitting when you're wrong and having the courage to change. Queen Valara is showing real strength by partnering with someone who challenges her, by being willing to adapt. That's what will keep this empire alive for the next 10,000 years. Some of the younger nobles' skin flashed to approving greens and blues. The older nobles remained hostile reds and blacks. The empire was truly divided now. Over the following months, Jake and his crew worked to implement changes. The new drive system was tested and proved successful. It was slower, as predicted, but it didn't create rifts. Valara ordered the gradual replacement of all quantum fold drives in the Imperial fleet. This decision cost her support among many nobles. The military commanders complained about reduced speed affecting their strategic capabilities. Trade guilds protested increased travel times. But Valara held firm, backed by Jake's data showing that the alternative was eventual collapse. Jake also pushed for other reforms. He proposed establishing proper diplomatic relations with other species instead of simply conquering them. He suggested creating research partnerships where Zenthari scientists worked alongside alien scientists as equals. He even proposed a council where representatives from different species could advise the Queen. Each proposal was controversial. Each one faced fierce opposition. But slowly things began to change. The most significant change came 6 months after Jake's decision to stay. Valara announced the creation of the Unified Council, a body where representatives from multiple species would advise on imperial policy. It was an unprecedented move that sent shockwaves through the empire. Lord Kethrin saw this as his opportunity. He formally declared rebellion, claiming that Valara was no longer fit to rule. He had gathered enough support from conservative nobles to create a serious threat. Nearly a third of the Imperial fleet joined his cause. Civil war erupted across Xanthari space. Ships fought ships. Worlds chose sides. The empire that had stood unified for 10,000 years was tearing itself apart. Jake found himself in a position he never expected. He was helping plan military strategy, advising on diplomatic negotiations, and serving as a bridge between different factions. His 3 crew members had become essential as well. Nicole worked on ship systems, Pete handled communications with various species, and Carl provided medical support to casualties on both sides. The war lasted 8 months. It was brutal and costly. Thousands of ships were destroyed. Millions died, but Valara's forces, bolstered by new allies from species who saw opportunity in her reforms, slowly gained ground. The final battle took place near Xanthar Prime. Kethrin's fleet made a desperate attack on the homeworld, hoping to capture or kill Valara and end the war, but they were met by a combined force of Xanthari loyalists and ships from a dozen different species who had joined Valara's cause. Jake watched the battle from the flagship's command center. The space around the planet lit up with weapons fire and exploding ships. It was terrible and beautiful and horrifying all at once. When Kethrin's flagship was finally disabled, Valara gave an unusual order. "Bring him to me alive. No execution. He will stand trial." This surprised everyone. The traditional Xanthari response to rebellion was immediate death. But Valara was establishing new traditions. Lord Kethrin was brought before the Queen in chains. His skin was a dull gray, the color of defeat and shame. He expected to be killed. "I am not going to execute you," Valara said. "That would make you a martyr for those who still oppose change. Instead, you will be exiled to a remote system where you can live out your remaining centuries in peace. Perhaps in that time, you will understand that strength comes in many forms." After the war ended, the real work began. The Xanthari Empire was transformed into something new. The Unified Council gained real power. Species that had been conquered were given representation. Trade became partnership instead of exploitation. Jake's role evolved as well. He was no longer just an advisor. He became the official ambassador of human affairs, representing Earth's interests in the Empire. Captain Hayes and the rest of the Horizon's crew eventually returned, bringing with them Earth's formal diplomatic delegation. Humanity's relationship with the Xanthari Empire became the foundation for something larger. Other species, seeing humans treated as equals, began to reach out. A galactic community was forming, with humans playing a central role despite being one of the youngest species. 2 years after his capture, Jake stood once again in the observation room where this had all begun. Valara joined him, looking out at Xanthar Prime. "Do you ever regret your decision to stay?" she asked. Jake thought about it carefully. "Sometimes I miss Earth. Miss the simplicity of just being an engineer fixing broken systems. But no, I don't regret it. What we're building here is important." "We," Valara repeated. Her skin shifted to that deep magenta color. "You still resist calling this your home?" "It is my home," Jake said. "Just a different one than I expected. Home isn't really about a place anyway. It's about where you choose to be and who you choose to be with." Valara's hand found his. The cold touch of her crystalline skin was familiar now. Comfortable. "I told you that first day that you would be mine. But I was wrong about what that meant. You are not mine because I claimed you. You are here because you chose to be. That makes all the difference. You've changed a lot since then," Jake observed. "As have you," Valara replied. "When I first saw you, I saw a puzzle to solve. A possession to claim,